Ekiwe ore acio mararumana. Toko matigoro uo. Angekoro irumisio ni ore marutiro magikura. Reke mwire ithuĩ tũgerie kwendana bũrũri-inĩ witũ na tũtwarithie maũndũ ma bũrũri na mbere na mũmenye na kũrĩa mũrorete na mũtongoria wanyu ndangĩhota kũmuonia kũrĩa njĩra ĩrĩa ĩtagĩrĩire. Ndĩmwĩre mũthiĩ na mbere kũmenya atĩ mũtĩ na harĩa mũndũ aikaire nĩwe ũgũkĩrĩa thambũ ĩrĩaga na ndare na ũru no ningĩ ũngĩkĩonio ũru nĩ ũrĩa mũnyinyi waku rĩ wagĩtindania nake githĩ tũthiĩ na mbere. Ndeke mwĩre kũrĩa aramuonia mũrore kuo na ndamũcokeria ngatho mũno nĩ ũndũ wa gũka kumagaria my cousin. Thank you.
We all know what followed thereafter. If you don't, just follow what's been happening on social media. So right after she talked about those who are insulting others, having a problem with the upbringing, and then we saw this tirade of unprintables. By the way, Jamila, you were playing me that audio.
We couldn't listen
I heard the first word, and I said,
we can't listen
stop,
anymore.
I can't listen anymore.
Unbearable.
Yeah.
Jamila.
I honestly, we mentioned the fact that someone's mother, whoever they are, is sacred. Yes, Mama Ngina spoke. Yes, she supported her son. And yes, she said she supports his choice and his opinion and the direction he intends to take this country. That is hers, Mama Ngina speaking, talking about her son, who happens to be the president of the Republic of Kenya. And yes, this is political season. And yes, there are those who oppose the president, those who are on the other side. All those are factors, and it's true. But still, going to insult Mama Ngina Kenyatta was too low for anyone. It doesn't serve any purpose, Yvonne. It does not... I don't think there's any way it will sway votes to your side because you insulted her because of what she said, the fact that she supports the president's choice. Of course, who is Raila Odinga in this instance? And I think insulting her is going too low. And then now, having now more of what we saw on social media, the comments by the gentleman from the US, the one we're talking about. Yeah. And of course, the hula baloo and the reaction. I think Kenyans were united in this, in terms of now condemning what he said. Of course, he had to issue an apology. But the damage has already been done, especially when pictures of the gentleman in a crowd with Deputy President William Ruto in the US surfaced. Those were saying, well, someone should come out and condemn what this gentleman said. It's just not right.
Yeah, and possibly repudiate those words. But, it's one thing if you're taking issue with her support of her son, which is, perfectly valid. You would say, well, we don't agree with you supporting, Deputy President or whoever it is, supporting Raila Odinga and not the Deputy President. Taking issue with that would be one thing. But Linus...
Yes.
Something is happening.
Something is happening, and there are two arguments to this. There is first the political argument, which is the former First Lady has waded into a debate about succession and taken a position, meaning then she is fair game politically. What is disagreeable is how far do you go? Is it the personal insults that have gone? Because there is one thing that should also be acknowledged, and that is some families in this country have been targeted politically, especially the Jomo Kenyatta, Jaramogi Odinga, and the Daniel Arap Moi families. And I just want us to listen to what we had this week during the Safina Party convention in Bomas of Kenya. Let's listen to Rigathi Gachagua, MP for Madira, yes.
At family capture. The project that is being pushed around is a deliberate scheme of family capture, where three families have sat down and decided that they want to rule Kenya for the next 200 years. And we have the Kenyattas, the Jaramogis, and the Mois. And these three families have been sitting down and saying, despite the fact that the presidency of Mwai Kibaki was the most celebrated in terms of economic empowerment, in terms of empowering the Kenyan people, those three families are saying that the Kibaki presidency was indeed a mistake. What should have happened is that the three families should continue exchanging. We had the Kenyatta, we had the Moi. They say the Kibaki was a mistake. Now we have the Kenyatta. They want us to go to the Odinga. Then we go back to the Moi. Then we go back to Kenyatta. Is it possible?
Of course, there is a whole question of the accuracy of those allegations, whether it's true that three families actually sat down and decided this is how they want the succession game to play. But when you see this, where it is coming from, remember the dynasty versus hustler debate was actually coming from there. And I think the Safina event was full of such remarks. Let's just listen to Kimani Ichung'wah, MP for Kikuyu.
Three families, the Kenyatta family, the Moi family, the Odinga family, when they look at the rest of us, they see laborers, they see slaves that should be slaving for them, and we should thank them that we had the privilege to serve them. It is time now to tell them that we are not slaves of three families in this country.
Look at that. We're talking of a very divisive kind of tone and manner of our politics, meaning then that the insults can also translate to propaganda, and propaganda to very inflammatory and a generally negative tone of the campaign, because it is arguable. What are the accusations there against those families, strictly speaking? What are the issues? Why are they not listing what the issues are? And in terms of the impact on the national life. So this is the tone, Yvonne.
It is, and it then brings it into focus about, the Uhuru factor, because all of what you're saying, is really geared towards the strong support that Uhuru Kenyatta, the president, has declared for Raila Odinga, and suddenly that his one vote is suddenly more than just one vote. Mm-hmm. I think let's listen to Deputy President William Ruto in Gatundu complaining about this very issue, asking the president to achie huyu jamaa, let's deal with him at the ballot.
Nimemuuliza hata kama hataki kunisaidia aniwachie hii mzee ya kitendawili. Mimi niko tayari kupambana na yeye. Yeye asimame kando, huyu kitendawili mzee nitamumalizia.
Mm-hmm. Yvonne, there was that comment that you even had in your intro about Uhuru being Kura Moja. Mm-hmm. Uhuru Kenyatta has been president for 2 terms. Okay, he won elections, whatever was said about the elections, outcomes notwithstanding. He has ushawishi fulani. You can't run away from that. And I think imedhihirikia now the Kenya Kwanza side that, wait a minute, President Uhuru Kenyatta going out and actively campaigning for Raila Odinga has an impact. I don't know if I can use the football analogy. There are 2 ways to win in football. You score or you prevent the others to score. Mm-hmm. And Uhuru Kenyatta cannot be a striker anymore. Like, he's out of the running for that. He's not running for president again. But anaweza kwenda pale azuie mabao yaingie, and it's exactly what he is doing. The fact that now he's going out there and telling people, vote for Raila, he's my choice. And he said clearly that for him, William Ruto cannot rule now. He said it in Sagana, he said it again and again, and there's no stronger way of saying that I don't think you are fit to rule now than by supporting someone else and actively going out to support him, because that is what the president has been doing. And I think the fact that now that realization has come at this point speaks to the fact that now campaigns now are shifting completely and totally, especially even for the president. I know we keep talking about legacy, what he's doing. He's going to open a hospital and he still campaigns for Raila Odinga. He goes for whatever project it is that he's commissioning, and he still speaks about campaigning for Raila Odinga. So I think they've reached a point where now Uhuru's importance cannot be understated at all by all sides. And look at it this year also. When he went to Gatundu South, when they were speaking there, he became ndugu yangu, rafiki yangu. The language changes. When you go home kwa mtu, kwa sababu unajua you don't want to alienate people at all, because this is home. The same can be said maybe when you go to Migori and say Tinga and Baba. Things change. So it depends on where you go. Those things matter to people. Say whatever you want to say about him. Ni mtoto wetu, mpatie heshima, and they do realize it, I think, at this point.
How different, Linus, is, you know, President Uhuru Kenyatta compared to previous presidents at a time of transition such as this. Jomo Kenyatta died in office, so, you know, we know what happened there. President Moi supporting, you know, Uhuru Kenyatta, we know what happened with that. Well, you know, Mwai Kibaki didn't outrightly do so. There was some talk about, you know, the level of influence that he had, but he was, you know, at a more advanced stage in life. That's not the same. How does this differ from what we've seen in the past?
Quite different, and one of the factors that make him different is, first of all, the region he comes from. Traditionally has had very strong presidential candidates or political leaders who are playing politics at the national level. Right now, he is that leader. He is the highest ranking, and there is no close number two. Basically, the rest are quite a distance below him. And so what that makes him is he retains quite a lot of influence within the region that he comes from. And number two is his age. He's not old. He's, as Atoli would say, he is young. He's in his 50s. Actually, it's now in 60. But meaning he's got the energy and he's got the influence. He's got the wherewithal to actually contribute politically, which is what makes it a factor for the Kenya Kwanza Alliance, which is saying, leave that mzee for us. Let's just leave the stage and allow us to deal with him. Because they are aware that can they afford two races, one against Raila Odinga and another one against Uhuru Kenyatta. And the unfortunate scenario for Kenya Kwanza is they'll find themselves, now that they're in the opposite sides with Uhuru Kenyatta, they'll find themselves running a race against Uhuru Kenyatta in central Kenya. That'll be the reality.
It's inevitable, right?
It is inevitable. Now, there are two things that can happen. There is this example that can be given, that can Central Kenya do a Kiambaa, basically, which is go the UDA route, defy Uhuru Kenyatta, and give glory to William Ruto. It can also go the other way, which is the BBI route. Remember, BBI was not supposed to pass in any of the Mount Kenya counties because, as Irungu Kangata had written at that time, that it's so unpopular, we can't pass it, the ground is against it. And I mean, the ground is not any lower than the level of the county. The counties passed the BBI report very quickly. And what did it take? It only took a meeting at Sagana State Lodge. And now that is the weapon that Uhuru Kenyatta still holds, that he can call the leadership of the community, just like he did the other day, and then they discuss and say, how do we really proceed from here to the election? That is the weapon that I think the Deputy President and his team would like to mitigate. But it's only 4 months to the election in a short while. What will change? In politics, a day is a very long time. Will the president heed the call to step back and leave the campaign to Raila Odinga? My own thinking is it's too late to turn back. Where the horses have taken off.
They've crossed the Rubicon.
They've crossed the Rubicon. They have to do what they have to do. I think Uhuru Kenyatta will campaign for Raila Odinga to the last minute. He'll not change his position.
And that'll no doubt have an effect? You know, on the race?
It should have an effect in terms of this man, Rais, kumbuka how many years, 5 years, okay, let's say 10 years ago, they were totally not seeing eye to eye at all. This was 2013, and also 2017. And then came the handshake out of nowhere that no one expected. And now they're bosom buddies and they're good friends. And those things make people wonder, kwani amefanya mazuri gani that he's now good, na mwingine amefanya mabaya gani na yeye ni mbaya sasa. And even when William Ruto says to achie huyu mzee, you know, when you're looking for kazi, referee wako anakuaga probably your boss. And in this instance, Uhuru Kenyatta being Ruto's boss, hajampatia reference na kusema kwamba huyu mtu ni mzuri, because pengine anamfahamu, he knows or doesn't know whatever
He actually did, Jamila. He actually did a reference in Sagana, if you remember.
Akasema huyu jamaa hafai saizi.
Hafai saizi, it's later if
he toes the line, or
if
words
it
to that
changes.
effect? Yes.
Yeah. So in short,
subject to improvement.
That was it. Yeah.
Anamchomea picha in short, probably. That's why I'm saying, let us deal with this mzee one-on-one because of that relationship they have had. So I think, I don't know if it will make someone vote for either or because of Uhuru's actively campaigning for Raila, but it does actually have a significance.
Yeah, but it's really interesting, isn't it, that we've got, a case of incumbency on either side, right? So you've got, President Uhuru Kenyatta campaigning for Raila Odinga on one end, and on the other end, you've got, Deputy President William Ruto and his team has enjoyed some form of incumbency, by virtue of being the Deputy President, of the country. And so, incumbency would be a big thing, except now it is, on either side of the political divide. To what extent does incumbency, Linus, help the Deputy President on his end, or Raila Odinga by virtue of receiving support from the incumbency?
I think for the first time since he started running for president, Raila Odinga has campaigned without being assisted by tear gas at all. None of his rallies have been disrupted. He has gone to where he wants to go. But more importantly, in this relationship with Uhuru Kenyatta, it opens the gate to Central Kenya that was literally a closed zone for him. Raila Odinga was never a discussion point for the people, for the voters of Central Kenya. And in fact, in the last two elections, President Uhuru Kenyatta worked so hard to make sure that voters do not think any positively of Raila Odinga. That now is being undone by the president himself and his campaign team saying, this is our guy, this is our man, vote for him. So in a way, if you can call it incumbency, it has given Raila Odinga the access he never used to have to a region that has a lot of votes. He is also having to argue his points out there and say, I'm going to do this and that. Now, for William Ruto, obviously, the day that he had envisioned in 2017 has not come to pass because he was supposed to be the candidate of incumbency. And being the candidate of incumbency means you operate almost as if you're already there.
Seat is yours already.
It's just yours for the taking, and it's just a formality that is waiting. For example, the National Delegates Convention would feel like a state function, not.
Yeah, it would have been, wouldn't it? Yeah, with the president and the deputy on one side, right?
Absolutely. And it's just that the choreography is changing these days. I covered many of President Moi's events, and they are very well choreographed state events. You will feel the power, you will feel the state largesse. That, of course, is missing for Deputy President William Ruto, although not entirely, because let's remember that as a constitutional office holder, the DP still enjoys all the perks of the office.
Absolutely.
You can see he moves with the normal security that the Deputy President is allocated. The vehicles and basically his transport is also taken care of by virtue of being in that office. So in a way, he's not as disadvantaged as Raila was in previous elections.
As a typical opposition leader.
Candidate.
Lady, gentlemen, we have a few minutes to go, but I just want us to mention, perhaps we alluded to this in the beginning, 2 days to go to a very important deadline. That's March the 26th, and that's why you're seeing all of this movement back and forth. March 26th it is. Big day, Jamila.
Yeah. And it's a big day, and the next big day, of course, is in April when nominations happen. And I was looking at an article today where it said that, for instance, UDA had bagged 5,700 aspirants ahead of its nominations slated for next month. So already, 2 days to 5,700 aspirants are firmly in the UDA side, and others are also in the other camps. And remember, all these aspirants are actually paying money to be part of, to be included in the list of those parties, and that money is important. The camps need it, the parties need it so they can be able to do nominations. But when you talk about nominations and where people are going to be and where they're going to stand, of course, what is going through their minds is, one, the region I'm in, two, who is the more popular candidate where I am, 3, which is the more popular party. And that's why we're seeing what is happening even in Western Kenya. Raila Odinga is there. And today already we're seeing some alignments. Yesterday we saw Boni Khalwale and Senator Malala. Khalwale anamwachia Malala ndiye atakaye for governor in that region. Because those are the arithmetics I think parties are looking at in terms of not having to have outright battles in some region. If we can avoid it, if we can avoid kwenda watu kusumbuana huko mbele, wacha watu wamalizane hapa mapema, we look at the stronger candidate, we look at the stronger party, we look at the stronger following, and we do that. And that's what's happening in Western Kenya. And I think we'll see this replicated in different parts of the country, Yvonne, as we come closer and closer to April 16th, when the nominations start. Again, you've talked about 2 days to by 26 lazima ukume ama utakuwa chama gani, because after that kama hauna we haupo kwa list ya chama, and you're doomed, you don't know where you'll be. And I think independents will have a lot of people who will run as independents, but unless watu wanakuchagua wewe kama individual, pengine unaweza kupata. But if we're looking at parties, they're looking at who's leading the ticket or chances of us we taking the presidency, independents wanaweza kuwa na shida.
And March 26th is just 48 hours away. I think by midnight, March 26th, you know where you stand in preparation for that. It's a numbers game, Linus, isn't it?
It is a numbers game, and it is a very emotional time and difficult time to be a candidate. Because let's face it, the Kenyan party political space is a wild forest. That
it is.
It is ungoverned, it is unclear, it doesn't have a compass. It is a survival for the fittest space. Nominations, actually, if you look at it strictly, they are worse than the election, because the election is run by the IEBC, and then there's the government, you have the police, you have other people that actually give a helping hand. In party nominations, Jamila, I remember in 1997 when I covered the KANU nominations, because when you win the KANU nominations, it was basically umeingia bunge. I remember a candidate, an old man, who was in tears and asking me whether I know what went wrong. And he was not obviously thinking properly, because how does a young journalist know anything about what you're going through? You are crying. I was wondering what is going on here. And we were at the KICC, where the appeals team would sit to listen to these people. And I watched that old man being kept in one spot. He was an MP, defeated by a newbie, and he has no access to being heard by the appeal tribunal. Nominations are tough.
Brutal.
So April is going to be a very, very difficult time for all those who are aspiring to be in office, and that is in the parliamentary races, the gubernatorial position, those who are looking for positions of MCS. April is more important to them than actually August is.
Absolutely. And March 26th, I think, is the start of the journey towards April 16th, which I think is a huge milestone in our elections cycle as we head towards August the 9th, which is now just a little bit over 4 months away, I think.
4 months and a few days to go.
4 months and a few days to go. That's correct. Okay, so Jamila,
take this home, and Yvonne, today you get the honor.